All right, so here we are. It's our February Video Champions. Thanks everybody for joining us. As I mentioned in the invite, this is a big one because we're going to be talking about the 2022 local video strategy and all the different prongs of that, including social. And we have a great team here to present that. Before we go to that, I wanted to kind of introduce a new idea for the Video Champions meetings that I hope to incorporate in as many meetings as we can this year, each month, which is sort of like a how did they do that? Literally 5 minutes to take a look at something really impressive that I've found in the network, or that you want to suggest to me that we could possibly do, and then hear from someone who actually was on the creative side of that. So I'm going to move quickly since we don't have a lot of we have a lot of content, but not as much time as I'd like today. So I'm going to show you a clip of this very, very intense mini documentary that was produced by Michael Karras from North Jersey. I'm going to show you a piece of it now, and then we'll hear from Mike. Let me just do a quick sound test. If someone could just make sure or just confirm that you can hear this.
I heard you speaking.
There's not. Hold on one second. It started it on a text screen. You guys hearing audio there?
I am not.
Okay, let me make sure I got my share here. Try again. There's a little tab for that. Oh, here we go. Okay. All right, here we go. So this is by Mike Karras.
I'm so tired of worrying about tomorrow. You can't imagine. I've been evicted 3 times from here. 3 times they told me to pack my shit. My life has been just total chaos, and I have had not one thing guaranteed from week to week. Everything has been up in the air. I never envisioned being more isolated than I was in prison, but I am. I don't leave the room anymore. Why? To go shopping? I don't go shopping. There's no money to go shopping. I used to look forward to doing my laundry every week, but I ran out of money. It's stressing me out. So, here I am again, scared to death. When you pay your own rent, and you're paying your utilities, and you're doing what you're doing, you're a part of society then. Right now, I'm not a part of society. I'm so isolated. I don't go nowhere. I don't see nobody. I don't draw anymore. I haven't drawn in months.
Okay. So what we saw there was the result of many visits, I think 15 visits over the course of a year from the videographer, Mike Karras. And Mike was hoping to join us today, but it looks like he is having some connectivity problems. Mike, by any chance, were you able to rejoin in the last 30 seconds or so? I see you on here, but you're muted, so. Yeah, so we ran into a problem because Mike's out on assignment. He's actually doing a follow-up to this. But what I'll do is I'll get some notes from Mike, and we will share that with you all. And please keep in mind for future Video Champions meetings, I'd really love to do how did they do that, and just like start every meeting with something truly impressive, and then hear from the creator of that. So I'm going to switch my screen to our main presentation today. And we're here to talk about 2022 local video strategy. So this is a team of video leaders in the company that have created this strategy. And for everyone on the call, we've presented this already to all the site leaders across the country on a call from that Emily Nash has on a regular basis. So, you all are going to get to see a more detailed version. We did a kind of an overview with Emily's group. And, now we're going to kind of dig into the details of what our local strategy should look like. And I'll kick it off, and then we'll incorporate some of our experts as we move through. And thanks to Kelly Leonard for leading this effort with all of us and creating this deck with all this great information. So we're just taking a look here at a chart about video consumption, and really what I want to call your attention to is this: how local and national news is consumed. The local is the darker blue here, and if you see here, like on video other than TV, 60% of people are consuming local news video outside of television, and now obviously that's the space where we can come in. Also on the right-hand column here, no surprise, Facebook is a massive social platform for accessing news. But just taking a look at YouTube as a strong second, and if you add up YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter all together, you're well over 50%. And so we want to talk about the social efforts that we're putting forth with video this year, and we're going to get there in just a moment. So first, I just wanted to kind of take a second and try to identify, what are the main three prongs of this strategy. And so the first is must-see local video. And we talk a lot about that every month, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it today. We also want to focus on, in our prong number 2, the YouTube footprint that, some of us have in our market. Some of our newsrooms might have had it a few years ago, and it has fallen by the wayside. We want to revive it. Others are doing really well, and we have some case studies in the appendix here of some really great successes on YouTube recently. And then the third, vertical video, so expanding production and experimentation with vertical video. So let's just talk for a second about, well, what should we be creating for our platforms? And primarily, like, what kind of video should everyone here be focused on creating? And so what we're asking is, basically that the tier 1 and tier 2 sites continue with their solid efforts in creating good, relevant video storytelling. And just a breakdown of kind of what do we mean by must-see video? Well, first, I like to say we want to avoid creating video for its own sake. So, rather than create a video just because we need to fill a slot or put something at the top of the story, what we want to do is strive to create videos that have a compelling reason to exist. So here are a few good reasons for a video to exist. And if, as you look at this list, if you feel that the videos that your team, your newsroom have been creating are not hitting on at least one of these kind of main points, then reach out to an analyst, reach out to a dot video leader, who we're going to hear more about that in this call. Reach out to me, reach out to a video leader, and let's hone the strategy. So see and hear, right? Obviously, this is what our video medium does best. Bring people, let people hear and see things for themselves. Access is bringing them places they can't go, or introducing them to people they wouldn't otherwise meet or who are authoritative on a topic. Inform, break down and explain important issues, news events for the communities you serve, like an explainer video. So generally, newsrooms are going to pick up from this call. The dot is going to be available to help with creation of this type of video, and we're going to hear more about that in the presentation ahead. And last but not least, telling stories. So we want to be telling important, engaging stories with video, and that's kind of just the core journalistic mission that we all sort of got here, to do. So this is a quick chart that shows quantity of videos produced by local markets since 2019 and through 2021. And yes, the trend line is lower. We were producing fewer videos, but we're actually not saying that that's bad news. I think there, for those of us who were involved in the video efforts in 2019 and earlier, we were producing a lot of single-use videos, trying new tools like Watch It, and just producing a lot of video, but not necessarily honing in on the focus and the quality. So we are producing fewer videos, but we are producing quality videos, and we want to maintain that. We don't want to, necessarily say we need to be producing more across the board. But there are a few places in tier 1 and tier 2 that we did identify where we would like to see perhaps an increase in production. And, this group we looked at a threshold of, for tier 1, are you producing 10 videos a week or more? And for tier 2, are you producing 4 videos a week or more? And so just using that threshold, this is not a goal set or anything like that, but just using that threshold to give an idea of where folks might lean in a bit more. And again, you'll be hearing more in this presentation as we move forward about how the dot can help in terms of creating certain types of video inventory. So common question that I get all the time, do we need a video on every story? The answer is no, we don't need a video on every story, but plan to create video for your top performing stories, your long running topics, and your premium. So top performing content, putting a relevant quality video at the top is going to lead to increased time on site, increased time on page, higher video ad revenue, key metrics, and audience engagement with our content. Topics you regularly cover, multiple use videos come into play here. They work really well. So multiple use explainer, sometimes called evergreen, but not necessarily evergreen. Something could be useful for 3 weeks and not be evergreen. But that type of video inventory is super important to this strategy. And again, the dot can help with that, and we'll be hearing more about that soon. And of course, we have a steady stream of high quality videos coming in from USA Today, from franchises like Just the Facts, as well as from authoritative third-party sources like Associated Press and AccuWeather, and user-generated sources like Storyful. So these are a good go-to. Incorporate them in the mix where you don't have that local video to place. And yes, there are exceptions. There are exceptions to all of our best practices, or at least a lot of them. So, in the case of placing a video at the top every single time, no, there are going to be exceptions. So now I want to bring in Nate and Jessica from the Dot to tell us about our YouTube footprint and how we can improve there.
Hi, I'm Jessica Davis. I know some of you, but not all. I'm Senior Director for our Digital Optimization team here with Nate Shute. I very much feel at home with you all here today as we talk more about YouTube. As in my past life, I've been a digital director for video and also a news director for a video wire service in Los Angeles. So, hear about the video. Nate, you may be familiar with as he attends these calls, but Nate, did you want to introduce yourself for those that don't know you?
Sure, yeah, I'm Nate Shute. I work in the Sunbelt region, but also work with a bunch of dot producers across the country with a smaller dot video champions team. And so we're going to be really working with you directly to try to leverage what video you all are creating to help us find audience.
Absolutely. So one of our big opportunities is around video on videos YouTube this year. And so we really wanted to take some time to explain why YouTube. We really think it's important, especially at the Dot, to take some time to make a business case for what our priorities are, just because there are so many demands on our time. And we do think that the ones that we talk about in the local video strategy this year, including what Jaime will go into depth on, are really important for how we reach new audiences and continue to engage our subscribers. And so what we can see is that for YouTube, usage went up during the pandemic, and you can see this great chart from the Pew Research Center. Also, YouTube has the audience that we really want to reach, right? They tend to be younger, more diverse, and we also get revenue from YouTube, and this revenue goes into local newsroom budgets. So there's just kind of like, right, we get brand awareness out of this, also revenue. So there's just multiple reasons why it makes sense. Another really good reason is on the next slide. And this is a place where people go for news. And it's a place where maybe it's not their primary goal of the visit is to consume news, but they are consuming news there. Also, people on YouTube have more of a propensity to trust journalists on YouTube. That's up compared to places like Facebook, for example. So it's a place where we feel like we can win with quality video, especially. And it's a place where we feel welcomed as journalists, right? Where the things that we do well has a place on the platform. And that's really important for us. We're willing to wade into the hostile ground, but there's a place for us here. We also have this really great question on can it drive subscriptions, but we're going to get to that more this year and circle back with you all. Go ahead, we'll keep moving. So, really, Sean kind of teased ahead, hey, who's active on this and who's doing it well. And so here's kind of that short list of, they're posting, these sites are posting really consistently, really great revenue there. A few, didn't have monetization on, and we're going through and fixing some of that back end stuff right now. And we've really taken a deep dive into where we are on YouTube, and it's unearthed a lot of really good things. But we really think that quality is the way forward here. So really great work by these channels, and more work to be done. So let's keep going. So our ask is we really analyze this, and we're asking tier ones to start posting again, and the Dot's willing to help with that. And Nate will talk a little bit more in depth about that in a moment. So this is that short list, and we did an analysis on it. And evergreen video is really driving a lot of the revenue for these sites that didn't post much at all or very little last year. And so, we don't want to rely on that long term, that we're just going to keep getting revenue off of evergreen video. Those might, run out of their time or anything like that. So we can't count on it moving forward. So we want to start posting again. We're not expecting like anyone to go crazy and create a bunch of new video. And we're going to talk through that with Nate. We've done some forecasting, and we think revenue could be substantial if we get consistent here, just with our tier one channels. So really excited to see where this could take us. And, there's more of a case here than just, getting plays and brand awareness and brand, reach, but we'll see what comes. We're looking at it closely. So let's keep going. And then Nate, do you want to talk a little bit more about in our analysis, which Jaime Cardenas helped with as well, like what's working on YouTube now? And, you probably have stuff in your inventory right now that just should be posted there. And Nate's going to talk us through some of that.
Yeah, we've seen success with a lot of different things here on this slide right here. Sports is a big place where we can win, that we've seen success with on our newsroom sites when it comes to Google search, bringing in a lot of traffic on sports coverage. And that same kind of principle also applies on YouTube. YouTube is a place where it's a social platform, but it's also a search platform. So there's a lot of opportunities for success to win there. And same thing with some of these other topics, food, giving a behind the scenes look, some recipes, celebrities with local connections, presented on that with you guys a few months ago. Some analysis on current events. Of course, that's going to have a high search interest. And then, other things that are hyper visual, dash cam, body cam footage. That's done well for a lot of our sites too. Putting it in appropriate journalistic context is definitely important there. But anything kind of going back to what Sean said, something that is super visual also has a place to win there. We can go to the next slide. So kind of just a basic look at kind of the workflow here. There's a one sheet linked in this document that we're going to share with you to kind of walk through what we would like. We would love to just really know, what videos are you planning? What videos are you planning to produce ahead of time? We've seen a lot of success. Jessica alluded to this. We see a lot of success on YouTube with videos that have like a longer shelf life. So it might not be that quick trending video that's going to, grab attention really quickly, but it might be something that has more staying power, right? So knowing ahead of time what videos you're working on, maybe we reformat that video one way for Presto, but we combine a bunch of clips that you produced for on-site together as one video for YouTube. YouTube tends to like longer videos, for example, so that can be a solution there. So ultimately, this is about communication, coming down to planning, coming down to how can we use video to really connect with our audiences. And so there might be times where the Dot can download the video and take care of the optimization of the video that we put into YouTube. And there could be other times where, especially if you have been using YouTube more consistently, you're more familiar with these fields. So we're not saying Dot is taking complete ownership over doing this. We're saying we're here to be a partner with you. And yeah, talking about rollout, really want to jump on a lot of this stuff now. We've been working on getting access. I know some people have been struggling with getting access to YouTube channels and making sure that we're able to actually upload to our YouTube channels. So that is something that we are working on. And if you are a smaller site and you do want to get started on YouTube, you can. So just reach out to your dot to get connected with that, and we can get things rolling for you that way too. Jessica, is there anything else you wanted to add on that?
Yeah, I think there's more to unlock here, but we just want to get consistency on posting, and we have our dot video champions that will be attending these calls, like Waldy's on here and a few others I see. So, you know, we're excited to partner with you as the video champions in your newsrooms to see how far we can get on this, how quickly, and we're going to circle around and really look at the data closely. We have some questions in the chat. We actually have done some case studies on the anatomy of a YouTube win and where those searches come from, and Nate, maybe we can come back. We can share the deck. We shared it on SEO Champions, but maybe we can come back on that. We'd love to go deeper with you all on YouTube, if that's cool, as well as if you all have learned more about YouTube, like let's learn from each other. Would love that. So, you know, I know we have not a lot of time today, but does that sound good to you, Sean? We could go deep and nerdy right now, but maybe not. Maybe
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just a reminder too, we'll distribute this deck. So everyone, you know, if you're furiously taking notes, you don't have to, you know, just enjoy the presentation. There's also a lot of supporting material that you're going to get when the deck is distributed. So, you know, we absolutely can do a deeper dive as well, Jessica. Always welcome.
I love these questions. I'll try to, well, Nate and I will type some stuff in the chat, but we do want to get through the vertical video as well, which is also a really good opportunity. So if we can come back, we'd love to go deeper on YouTube, Sean. And thank you so much for all the questions and interest.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to bring on Jaime Cardenas, who's our social media champion, for the next section.
Hey everyone, and I'm actually gonna pause here on this slide and sort of help answer some of these questions while Jessica answers this question in the chats, because one of the things I do with the company is I help meet myself, Alex Potachik, and Russ on this call. We all meet on a monthly basis with YouTube, and I really particularly wanted to answer Clark's questions. How do you direct traffic to your YouTube channel? And one of the most enlightening things that our YouTube context has told us in the last 2 years is that increasing subscribers shouldn't really be a primary focus of a YouTube channel. And I know that was somewhat Clark's question, but more than 90% of a YouTube channel's audience comes from search, from non-followers. So really optimizing those fields and making sure that people find it on Google search, find it through YouTube search. And one of the areas that YouTube's seeing the biggest growth on is actually TV usage. People that are now using their smart TVs, going to the YouTube app, and then searching while with their little remote control. So how are members finding audiences? It's those main ones. It is Google search, YouTube search, and TV search. And how to direct traffic is by making sure you optimize those search fields more so than focusing on sort of increasing subscribers. I could go on and answer Michael's question, but I'll let Nate and Jessica answer that one. Interviews and highlights are the short answer to that question, Michael, but we can come back to it later. So vertical video, and vertical video ties in really nicely with YouTube. And so let's go to the next one, because the key part about vertical video that everyone should know about is that it's not going away. It's not a phase. We were hoping that TikTok was a phase back in 2018, 2019, and 2020. It's clearly showing that it has huge staying potential. And amongst the key things that vertical videos has really been impacting sort of user behavior is sort of the staying power that vertical video has. Amongst the stats you see there in tiny little numbers is the fact that vertical videos have a higher completion rate than landscape videos, that people are more often able to remember and add on a vertical video format than a landscape format. So it's a very powerful tool and a way to engage with that audience and have them remember not just your brand, but your content and your stories. Next slide. The other aspect about vertical videos, on the why for vertical videos, is the fact that usage is growing, and the platforms that really focus on vertical videos like TikTok and Instagram, are the ones that over the last couple of years are seeing the biggest increase in news consumption. So in this chart you have in front of you, Instagram, for example, went from just being 2% of news consumption up to 11% in a span of less than 10 years. Where during that time, you can see that Facebook's, while the percentage remains the same, their line is clearly heading in a downward trajectory. So there's an opportunity there to better sort of engage with that audience and make sure that, you know, our content is in alignment with those other platforms that are emerging. Next slide. So the biggest challenge about creating vertical video is, as Sean alluded to earlier, is as a company, we've walked away from just social video in general. So part of sort of getting into vertical video is sort of just getting back into the habit and retraining that sort of social video muscle. You see right there that back in 2018, Gatehouse, Gannett, and USA Today, we combined together to upload 17,000 videos to our social channels. That number was down to less than 5,000 there at the end of 2021. So there is definitely an opportunity there to sort of go back into social video. And the opportunity is not just one for branding and audience engagement. Like Jessica said, there's a monetization component to it. I used to have an editor that would always tell me that the only reason they would focus on Twitter is if Twitter starts sending them a paycheck. Well, guess what? Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, they're all willing to send us a paycheck through our video content as long as we're uploading the video content. So the way we're going to sort of go about working with newsrooms and with Dots to sort of retrain that social video muscle is by first starting with Facebook. Right now, more than 94% of our posts on Facebook are link posts. So we're going to be emphasizing this 80-20 rule on Facebook, where 80% of the posts on Facebook are link posts and 20% are visual posts, ideally 10% photo posts, that's social cards, not straight photos, and 10% video posts. So this doesn't necessarily mean posting less links, but it does mean posting more visual posts, more video posts to our Facebook accounts. And we will be first doing that with Tier 1. Then we will be rolling it out, as you can see right here, to Tier 2s in Q3, and then sort of expanding it beyond that in Q4. And we're calling this a sort of walk before we run model. That way we don't just go straight into vertical video without first learning sort of the basics of just social video in general. So we will be walking back into social video, and then hopefully by the end of Q4, we will be ready to run with vertical video. And we already have a couple great examples about vertical video. Now, obviously, USA Today is a phenomenal example here for our company. But in addition to USA Today and Humankind, at the local newsroom level, we have great examples from Milwaukee, Phoenix, and Indianapolis. Indianapolis in particular, they've created their own mini TikTok committee that includes Clark, who's on this call, a reporter, an editor, and a couple other producers, in which they field and bounce out ideas of what to put on TikTok. They've also identified 3 key topics to work, and the case study for that is in the appendix. But there's a lot of great insights from what Indianapolis is doing that can easily be scaled to other newsrooms. So we have the idea of what works on vertical video, but before we get there, as I mentioned, it's first sort of getting back into the basics and habits of posting social video onto our social channels to begin with.
Jaime, there's a question from Chris. Should the 10% of Facebook video posts be vertical?
It doesn't have to. No, it can be landscape video. So it can honestly be as easy as making sure that the video you're creating for the website gets uploaded to Facebook, which is actually a big hurdle. Not all of our video that gets created for the website makes its way to Facebook or social channels. So that's step one, is the videos that you are creating for the website, identifying what works for Facebook. And this is going to sound very weird, but please go with me. The goal of a good social video is not to drive traffic to the website. Go with me on this one. A good social video, while we want it to pique the interest, tease the user to click on the website and get informed more, a good social video will stand alone by itself, will condense that 5,000 word or 500 word story into 30 seconds or 3 minutes. And the user who just watches the video will walk away knowing and being able to tell someone about the basics of that story. And they'll remember, hopefully, who created that content and where they got that information from. So a good social video will stand alone by itself, won't necessarily drive traffic. Obviously, a great social video will do both and will pique the interest, have somebody click on the website. But, you know, just think about that. How can this social video inform, and how do you make that story, that 5,000 word story, into something more digestible?
I also saw a question about, should we switch to a vertical format and watch it? Anyone have any thoughts on that?
I have lots of thoughts on that, but I'm going to let Nate and Jessica, who've been doing Watch It and Canva vertical video templates the last couple of months, answer that one.
Yeah, Nate. I put in like where you're gonna post that video, and if it is gonna be a reel or you know, an Insta story, like go for it and watch. It's great. I know some people are experimenting with Canva and really like it. So we've got a couple different options there. Nate, do you want to add anything to that, or anyone else? That's we've got Brooke Everly on too, and Brooke does a lot of vertical video.
Yeah, I think, you know, if it makes sense for the video to be horizontal in Presto, is it possible to make it vertical and be kind of under that 60-second mark for Reels? Is that feasible? It's going to really depend on what the video is, right? We do see, and I think Jaime can speak to this more, that videos posted as Reels on Instagram tend to do better, get more views than other ways. So that's something to think about when we're thinking about posting on Instagram.
Thanks. I mean, it's really great to know that the Dot is a partner in terms of video creation and also helping to maybe sometimes convert videos, you know, into these different formats if it can happen, right? If it can work through Presto. And just to kind of, Nate, could you just kind of also maybe reiterate workflow wise, how might it work if I have a video that I've created and I put it in Presto, but it's not going to be one that you can just take and make vertical? How would we work together?
Right. I would say if you have a video that's like kind of like a daily video, to kind of put it in that parameter, put it in our Dot Ready channel so that we're aware of it. We can help optimize it and make the suggestion, say like, hey, I'm wondering about if this is a good video for native social, if we should put it on social. The Dot should be thinking in that way already, is what we've passed down to our Dot Video champions. And so they might suggest, hey, is it possible for you to make this vertical? Or is it possible for me to work on making this vertical and share it with you and say, what do you think of this? So kind of just that feedback aspect, if it's something that's more longer term ahead of time, just kind of advance notice about what you're working on can kind of help us look ahead and look at something like Google Trends and look at YouTube search and see like, oh, it looks like there's a lot of interest in like this specific topic. It looks like we could look into do something short for on site, but we might want to do something a little bit longer to kind of capture that more evergreen YouTube audience. So really, again, that partnership and working together to be like, look, we're creating this content. Let's work together to find out what's the best way for us to reach audience with it.
Great. And I know we have, I think we have a slide in the deck that explains who the different Dot Video champions are, who people can reach out to. Okay, before we move on to kind of just sort of the summary of this presentation, I want to open it up to anyone who wants to unmute and ask a question. Open floor if you'd like to. We have some great minds here with us today.
Sean, I did want to answer one question. Angela has a great one about sort of what are the best fields for SEO on YouTube. And just want to reemphasize, headline, description, and thumbnail are the three key components that the YouTube search algorithm is looking at. Keywords are no longer one of the key ones. They're great for back and such and analytical reasons, but it won't really impact your search as much as headlines, descriptions, and a thumbnail.
Seth, what's your question?
Hey, pardon, this may be a very basic question regarding vertical video, but it's safe to say that on our visual staff right now, 100% of the videos that we're producing for daily stories or for projects are shot in landscape. Is the suggestion that we're supposed to be producing those videos now vertically as opposed to in landscape? I mean, in other words, I'm shooting with a DSLR. Should I be literally turning my DSLR camera vertically when I'm producing video, when I'm shooting video now?
I'll take a crack at that first, and then if anyone else wants to join in. So Seth, I would say continue to shoot in, widescreen 16 by 9. Keeping in mind that it might be possible to repurpose that as a vertical. Obviously there's cropping that goes with that, but we've done this in North Jersey for entire mini series where we shot it all in widescreen, and then we did a separate version of each episode in vertical. Obviously there are decisions to make in terms of doing that in post. But that's how I would do it, because I don't think on platform, on our stories, on our sites right now, that vertical is the best looking format. So we don't want to abandon that. It's more really about trying to retool it. That said, I think it would be awesome for everyone to think about native social video that perhaps is a complement to your project. So maybe you shoot something specifically because it's going to be for vertical, and in that case, maybe you do want to do that with your DSLR. But generally speaking, I would not shoot the whole project in vertical and then post that vertical in Presto. That makes sense. Anyone else want to jump in on that? Please do.
I'll jump in quick too, just as part of, we've been doing this a little bit in Des Moines, sort of thinking about it. And I think the key to this is thinking about in advance what type of video might do really well on social as a vertical video. So, 100% agree with Sean that all of what you probably want to shoot for, your assignments should still be landscape format. But work with your editors. Think about, could this be a really good social video? And I'll give you sort of an easy example of this is, they just opened a Crumble cookie in Des Moines last week, and it, of course, went bonkers, right? 2-hour lines to get cookies. So when we did a taste test video. And so the photographer with that, shot traditional landscape video with that using her DSLR in the studio of the taste test, but also shot some segments of the video vertically. And they had a plan going into it, what that would look like, and ended up editing 2 different videos, one for Instagram and one for on-site. And so, they had a very specific plan going into it to shoot it that way. And so that's what I would really encourage you guys to do as we start tiptoeing into this space, right? And I really want to emphasize that too, is that this isn't about all of a sudden tomorrow doing everything different, right? We're going to ease into this. We're going to slowly figure it out. We're going to try to experiment and start testing this out. So very much, think about, is this a good social video opportunity? Work with your social leaders, work with your editors so that you can really identify those opportunities in advance, and then plan for that and shoot in those formats in both ways.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. That's a great point. Maxwell, what's your question?
So if we have a bunch of video that we've done over the last year or two that are not necessarily super timely, that never made it to a YouTube account or never made it to social, but still have an opportunity to kind of be exposed to a new audience, is there value in retroactively posting that stuff now and just kind of getting it up on that account, or do we move on to the next thing?
Yeah, Nate, so you can, I put it in the chat, but you can actually see if that topic has some life on with Google search and YouTube search, and you can actually you can check YouTube search trends in Google Trends, which is really neat, and you can talk to your dot about doing some of that research. So we really recommend on YouTube, if it has a longer shelf life, it might be a good candidate, and you really want to tie it to areas where you have authority, especially on search, right, Nate? I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Nate, but you're very good at using Google Trends, and I learned from you. So go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would echo everything that Jessica said there too. You know, Google Trends can kind of be your guide to see what the interest is there too. But also kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, YouTube is a place for search, but YouTube is also a social media platform too. So maybe you might not see like specific search interest in that thing. That doesn't mean it's not going to find an audience on YouTube. You might have a really compelling longer package that's more detailed. There's a way that we can probably package that to really maybe potentially use a few Google keywords to try to bring in a little bit of search. But there's ways that we can kind of package it with good headlines, with a good promo image, with good other things that we put on with it to kind of feature it on the YouTube page to really bring an audience to watch it there.
Maxwell, in case it helps, helpful, two of the most watched YouTube videos in our newsrooms last year was one, a man shooting a selfie video, what he thought was his dying moments on what's called the Dragon Pass in Knoxville. And two was a man making the fastest Domino's pizza, like 15 seconds or whatever. So Domino's is a big SEO keyword. Pizza is a big SEO keyword. Dragon is obviously a very scenic route in the Smokies, or in that area, sorry. So those are big keywords that even if you didn't think dying moments or fastest pizza, if anything like that helps trigger you in your decision making of the videos you've done in the past, just keep that in mind. That key SEO words will definitely help in those moments.
And I don't think it is a bad thing to try, and we'll just keep an eye on it through Studio Analytics, YouTube Studio Analytics. So we're training the dot on how to do that more frequently, and Nate's working with the dot video champions on making that a regular habit. So we're all learning together here, and let's try things and see what's working.
Yeah,
I would just
and
caution.
Sorry, go ahead, Kelly.
I was just gonna say, I would just caution a very limited level of investment in going too far back in your archives to post stuff unless it truly has search impact. Because remember that there has to be a reason for someone to go look for it again, right? So, celebrities, certainly, yeah, go, if you've got stuff 2 years ago, go back and find it, because people are always searching for a celeb. But, to use another example out of Des Moines, we did a really nice COVID video series at the start of the year and had like 3 or 4 videos that went with it. Beautiful stuff, really impactful. But so much has changed with COVID, right? And yes, in January or February last year, that would have been great video for YouTube, but it's not necessarily worth going back to post that again, because the sort of moment has moved on and the relevance of it has moved on. So, sort of apply that same mentality to anything that you're really going to go back in your archives and dig out. It really needs to have sort of a new reason for a user to go find it. So just be cautious about, I don't want anyone spending hours and hours and hours going back into their archives and uploading stuff. Be very strategic about what it is that you think you might have. It's worth looking through the spreadsheet of your, top 100 videos of the last couple of years. But even then, I would only urge you to upload a few. Really look forward.
I just wanted to, kind of reiterate what Jessica was saying, that, we are all learning, and that's why we're here in the Video Champions. So we'll be continuing this conversation, multiple times during the year, and kind of seeing what sort of results you're all getting, and sharing what's working, and, sharing our best practices here. Mark Vergari, question?
Yes. Kelly, I had a question about the Crumble video. the social aspect of that, is that being shot on an iPhone as opposed to like a regular camera? Like talking about Seth turning the camera vertically. Does that even work with a DSLR?
Someone that shoots with DSLR may be better to able to answer that, but the example that I'm referencing, she shot specific portions of that video with her iPhone vertically.
And is that, I'm sorry, is that raw video that she's uploading, or is that edited?
She'll end up editing it together. I'm not sure whether she'll mix the landscape and vertical together, or whether she'll just use whether she shot the video twice per se, you know.
Okay.
My guess is that she'll sort of mix it together a little bit, but we'll see tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry that I don't have it with you to share, but and that doesn't necessarily have to be the perfect strategy to shoot it 2 times, right? You know, you may be better off just to shoot it all landscape and just upload it like others have said, but things that you think will do really well on social, there are ways to sort of work around it if you have a plan going into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have heard of people who turn the DSLR sideways and then import the footage and then rotate it on the timeline. And that will actually, I haven't tried it myself. I'm sure someone on here has, but theoretically that would give you like full resolution. Whereas if you're shooting landscape traditional and then you crop, you're actually losing pixels. It's not really something we should worry about though. I think it's really more about just kind of finding, you know, those moments or those stories where you want to try something vertical. And again, you know, the resources that are popping up in the chat here and that will be in this deck, you can study those a little bit further. And I think another main takeaway is like, have a plan. So when you go out there, you have in mind, you know, what it is you want to accomplish with vertical.
One other point to add to that, Sean, is that the user behavior on vertical video, and people really love sort of that raw feel of a video, the UGC video, not necessarily the polished end product, which I know for a lot of us, it hurts where it's like, we have a DSLR, we can make the most polished looking, Oscar looking, you know, TikTok video ever. But the user really gravitates to sort of that more organic, raw, natural video look of it all. So let's not forget sort of what's driving those views.
It's a good point. So, I mean, you know, you've got your DSLR, but you've also got your phone in your pocket. So, you know, those might be the tools, that might be the tool to break out. Carrie.
Quick question. We might have addressed it, but what do you guys think about if you took an edited horizontal video and then just put the aspect ratio for vertical into Final Cut and turned it into a vertical? If you're cognizant when you're shooting that of how you're framing a lot of videos, why would it be not desirable then to turn it into a vertical video and republish that without having to shoot twice?
Sometimes that works. Absolutely. That's actually the example I was talking about before, where we did Playing for a Way Out in North Jersey. You know, they knew they were going to edit a vertical, so they shot it wide, and then they actually were able to make the vertical cut because you know, that was something that they were thinking about. Yeah, it's totally doable, Carrie. Absolutely.
Yeah, because then it also gives you the opportunity to edit it slightly differently. So it, you know, a social video could be so much punchier if you just, you know, grab some clips, make it short, make it quick. You're using the same content, and then you can re-edit for your longer video. I just think it would save photographers a lot of angst in having to shoot twice.
Yeah, and again, I think, you know, just like talking about it with you first, you know, talking about it with me or with any of the dot video champions across the country, you know, having that plan before you go out, so that you know exactly, you know, what it is you're setting out to do with vertical.
Right. Thanks.
Sure.
Sean, just want to call attention to Channing's question about should all videos go up at once or space them out? And as a lot of people already jumped in, but Lauren has a great solution to that. And that is, you want to space those videos out. If you go into your archives, space them out, plan them out over multiple days, because if you're consistently posting on YouTube, the YouTube algorithm will benefit will benefit you and reward you, because the YouTube will think, oh, this is a constant publisher. And the more consistency you put into and effort you put into the platform, the more likely your videos are likely to be shown to others.
There's a question about, is Twitter still being used? I mean, so does anyone want to just kind of give an overview of where our Twitter focus should be?
I actually know the answer to this. So the answer is this Twitter video get views. I'll just point to Cincinnati, 2.5 million views on that great video by Meg Bogle about the fan reactions to the Bengals going to the Super Bowl. The sort of the not so nice news about it is I did look into it, and we went from posting 700 our local properties, 770 more than 770 videos to Twitter in May 2019. That was down to just 29 videos to Twitter just last month. So we've completely walked away from Twitter video. Yet the two most likely ways to get your content share on Twitter is either to do a video or a social graphic. So yes, there is very much an opportunity there to, if you're highlighting and identifying a video that should go well on Instagram and on Facebook and YouTube, that might be a good video to put on Twitter. Knowing the idea that you can also just share the link to your YouTube video natively on Twitter. So you want to balance those out, but there's very much still an opportunity for Twitter video, especially on key topics like politics and sports.
Great. Let me finish out this deck and then we're going to come back for questions before we close. So just a reminder on what Tier 1 should be doing. We're aiming for, at least 10 videos a week. And we want to get our YouTube efforts renewed and revived and rejuvenated. And you can work with the DOT and SEO leads to figure out specifically how you want to accomplish that. Start communicating about the videos you produce in the DOT channels. And for those ready to experiment, absolutely. And TikTok, I know it's an area a lot of us are excited about. And there were some markets that were already seeing some really cool results there. So work your brainstorm with your colleagues and your managers and experiment. Tier 2s through 4. Again, keep creating. Tier 2s aim to create at least 4 videos a week. Support training for your teams. Make sure they're ready to use video to help cover breaking news. And make sure you have someone here. Obviously, this was for your site leaders because you're already here. Use network resources like I outlined earlier in the first few slides to add relevant video to stories. And if you need a sort of a primer on how to find different sources of video in Presto, you can reach out to your DOT lead. You can also reach out to me. There are ways that you could search and save searches for different types of video in Presto, make it easier for you to get familiar with what's in there and how often it comes in. And of course, build an evergreen video library in partnership with DOT. We're going to come back and expand on YouTube and social, as I mentioned, throughout the year. So this is the place to be for that. And I think at this point, we'll take our last round of questions. And again, I thank this team. This has been an awesome team to work with as all of this stuff was rounded up and created, and especially thanks to Kelly for spearheading that and creating the decks. So I see, let's see, Carrie, do you still have a question or was that your earlier question?
That was earlier. Thanks, Sean.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Any other questions? Okay. All right, a lot of information. As usual, I'll distribute the info so we can all go over this, in our own time. Please do share it with your colleagues in your newsroom. It's just a really good idea for everybody to be aware of these strategies, and we will see you next month and on Teams in real time. Thanks, everyone.